Hello, everybody. It's Linda from Curtin Creative Gallery here to read you chapters 8 and 9 of The Spending of a Life's Breath by Amanda Grace Winwood. These two chapters tell of the little journal book that Mandy and her husband gave to Mandy's mother at the time when her father was going into the hospital for knee surgery. And so they used this journal to keep notes on his progress on his surgery and his entrance to the hospital and beyond. So we can start with chapter 8. The journal for my dad's surgery begins on February 22nd, 2000. February 22nd. Mom brought Dad to Exeter Hospital. He hadn't been able to eat for 12 days, unable to get the doctors to understand that Dad believes he has a blockage and was tired of being sick and put off by them about these concerns. He finally went to the hospital, though, and they scheduled him for a scope tomorrow afternoon. February 23rd. Scope showed blockage, possibly cancer. No wonder he has been unable to eat or poop. Aunt Abby, Dad's sister, called Dad. He will be operated on tomorrow at noon, the doctor said. He's a small guy, the doctor, about the size of my 5-foot mom. So is the head nurse on days. She's great. Mom was happy about that. February 24th, 2000. With God, all things are possible. Trust. Today is Thursday, and it is Mom's birthday. It is 9:15 in the morning, and I am sitting in a chair in my father's hospital room at Exeter Hospital. He just walked to the showers around the corner with the nurse. She got right into the shower with him to clean him up before he had surgery to remove a growth in his stomach. He returned now and is in the bathroom shaving. One by one, everyone came, sometimes more than one person, not into the shower. Soon the room was filled overflowing to the hall at times. My daughter, Jennifer, and her husband, Greg, brought their new baby, Jade. Pop asked to hold him and soon had him smiling and cooing. Pop is like the Pied Piper with children and babies and animals. They always smile at him. Earlier, when there was just a few of us here, Mom and Pop were exchanging Mom's birthday kisses. So we left them alone and went to the hospital cafeteria. He's got big band music on and flowers in the room. Mr. Tibbetts is across the way in a private room. He, too, has many daughters that are filtering the hallways with all of us, Dad's daughters. They are from nearby East Miller, too. That's where my family and I were raised. Some of my younger sisters were classmates and friends, and it's a small world. One of Mr. Tibbetts' daughters is now my own son Luke's mother-in-law. He married her daughter just 5 months ago in October 1999. Everyone visited each other between the two hospital rooms. Dad has beautiful flowers from granddaughter Coral, my sister Karen, Corin's daughter. Aunt Abby called Dad here at the hospital to tell him he was right. The problem with her car was just a loose cable. It is 11:50 a.m., and Dad just asked my husband, Roger, why did they used to say, why in the Sam Hill? Roger didn't know, so he couldn't say, and he just looked puzzled. But then my brother-in-law, Tim, said, I think it had to do with when Teddy Roosevelt was president, and it had to do with the Battle of San Juan Hill. Historically, it was supposedly because it was supposed to be a cavalry charge at San Juan Hill, and they had no horses. Teddy Roosevelt led the charge. Sergeant Major from the Salvation Army from my sister's family church was in Dad's room at the time and confirmed the information. Then it was time for us to kiss Dad good luck because they were going to take him down for his operation. But then there was a delay. Some had left, but the rest of us who stayed all filed back into his room. 12:47. We all kissed him so long again, and Dad was brought down for surgery. We submit him to God's hand. Let him guide the hands of the surgeons in Jesus' name. Thy will be done. We look forward to watching Dad eating sausage sandwiches again soon. We should plan a big family corned beef and cabbage boiled dinner for a Sunday soon with Dad. Gillian girlfriend brought Dad 2 bouquets of beautiful flowers, but no sausages. Yet everyone splits up into small groups to do the various bathroom, pit stops, coffee breaks, lunch down the cafe, and even a McDonald's run, or simply remain in the waiting room, Dad's room, or outside for cigarette breaks too. After a while and a few trips here and there, my niece Katie, Cheryl's eldest daughter, took the elevator, and a man shared the elevator with her. She looked up and said, Aren't you my grandfather's doctor? He said, Yes. Katie said, Well, shouldn't you be with him then in the operating room? He said, He's still being prepped. Excuse me. 2:10 p.m. They just called up to tell Mom that they had just now starting the operation. Yesterday, when the minister first came and he learned about all the children Mom and Dad had, he turned to Mom and said, What a lot of work you must have had to do. Dad replied, Nah, she just laid it down there through it all. Cute joke. Today, Helen, Corrine, Doreen, Olivia, and Madeline's daughters, April and Rachel, Diane and Tim, Cheryl and Dan, Helen, Beverly, and her daughter Carol, and my daughter Jennifer and her husband Greg, and their new baby Jaden, and our brother Charles Jr. and his friend Maggie are all here waiting to see how Dad's operation goes. This journal entry was written by Mandy. Still Thursday, February 24th, 2:25 p.m. We are all hanging around in Papa's room. Jaden is asleep in his bed, keeping it warm for when he returns. Greg and I have been talking about taking Papa to Yankee Smokehouse, especially after he began looking at us as bacon slices and sausage sandwiches. He was so hungry. Don't worry, Papa. We can tell them to hold the barbecue sauce. Jaden just woke up and is cooing and smiling. One of the hospital staff just walked by and asked if he was on the wrong floor when he heard the baby cry. Jaden loves his great-grandpa, Papa. As Aunt Cara says, Papa is Dr. Doolittle. He's got such a way with animals and babies. We love you, Papa. Love Jennifer, Jaden, and Greg. Still Thursday, February 24th. Happily, all went well with Dad's surgery, the doctor said. He took half the stomach and the operation went well. He didn't need any blood, and his heart is good, he said. For 2 days he'll feel lousy, but then on the way to good health. We'll know more about the cancer later after they test the lymph nodes. He had a hemigastrectomy, hemigastrectomy, they said, which means piece of his stomach removed. Removal of a tumor, and has a G tube to drain his stomach. And Jackson Pratt, which is a tube draining blood fluids from the site. The G tube drains the stagnant old food from the stomach. The green beans he had weeks ago are now black and chunky, but not smelly like often is in such cases, the nurse said. Evening, 7:30 p.m. My sister just called and said it was getting very foggy outside. Dad's resting nicely. His blood pressure is 143/55. The nurse just checked him. He opened his eyes when the phone rang, then closed them, and is once again resting peacefully. 7:40 p.m. The phone rang again, but wouldn't connect. Then it rang at the desk. It was Marge. She said Ma just left to go back to the hospital, and it's very foggy out. Please call when she gets there. Dad woke when the phone rang, and I asked if the light over the next bed bothered him. He said no, and closed his eyes and is resting peaceful again. 7:50 p.m. A nurse came in to give them some antibiotics. She hooked up the bag, and Dad didn't seem disturbed by it. Another nurse asked her to give him Tylenol every 4 hours. I think it may have been for someone else, though. We'll see. 8 p.m. Mom came. Then the nurse came in to check the site area, and then left to get a container to empty the blood from the site so there would be no infection, she said. Mom got up and watched her and asked questions, and then covered his arms for him. The nurse said she could get a cot for Mom to rest if she would like. Mom asked, "Are you sure it will not be in the way?" The nurse assured her it would be no problem. Mom said, "You can go home now, Mandy." But no, I'm staying. 10 p.m. Dad was a little nauseous. The tube beside the bed was fixed to help the flow, and the nurse checked him all over. He's good. 6 a.m. Friday, all is quiet in the room. I believe they are both sleeping soundly. 7 a.m. Dad was breathing heavily, moving his head, neck, and shoulders. Mom asked, "What's the matter?" He whispered, "I'm exercising." Then he stated, the doctor said his temperature was 1.5 and they didn't want it to go any higher, they said. 7:25. The doctor came in to check Dad. He used a syringe to unclog the tube, emptying his stomach. It showed dark, thick secretions. Vegetables? That had been in his stomach for a long, long time, clogging the tube. The doctor said they sucked a lot of it out during the operation. No bad odor. He asked if he had gotten up yet. He hadn't. He wants him to get up soon, though. He had them lower the pain meds so he will be less groggy. Although Dad seemed quite awake to me for some reason, for someone who had just been operated on yesterday afternoon. He's eating ice chips. After the nurses had the changing of the guards and checked the epidural, it is set up higher on the back than usual. They will watch for bruising or blood clot around the site of the epidural periodically. They said it was okay. 8 o'clock a.m. and his temp was 1.2. 9:30 a.m. He had a sponge bath by the nurse. It took 4 nurses to help him get up. 10 o'clock. They got him up to walk to the door and back and sat him in a chair beside the bed. He was weak walking for just that minute and is still very weak in the chair and very white, and he began to sweat. I remember when my husband Roger was in the hospital and turned white like that, he passed out. I asked Dad if he was nauseous, and the nurse asked him if he was having trouble breathing, and he said yes. So they put him back in bed. He was exhausted, he said. I probably need bacon and eggs. The nurse laughed at his response. Then he went right to sleep. Dr. Grover, a woman doctor, peeked in on him while he was up. 10:45. The man came in with a breathing exercise gadget, and Dad did a great job with it. Better than most after stomach surgery, he said. Then the nurses strained his stomach site tube some more. There were lots of learning nurses on duty today, so Dad is getting lots of help and attention. I'm sure he likes that. 12:20. They had dropped Dad's pain med down to 5 earlier, but after his workout and breathing exercise, they just increased it to 7 because Dad said the pain was of 5. Maggie and Charles Jr. are here. The head nurse, who has been teaching the nurses how to take care of Dad, reminds me of Mom. She is very small, but has great energy and a sociably pleasant nature, yet she's an authoritative, take charge type person. I love her. She's super and really caring to my dad. She walked in and said, "Someone smoked. I smell cigarettes." I pointed to Marge and said, "Her fake fur is really holding the cigarette smell." I'm sure that was an embarrassing moment for Maggie. Charles Jr. said it could be fireplace smoke to cover up the truth. But the nurse, with her no-nonsense attitude, said, "No, it's not," calling a spade a spade. 1 o'clock. The nurse came in to check Dad. She had him turn on his semi-side, putting a pillow behind his back. He was wide awake and chatting with Charles Jr. and Maggie and the nurse. He then was experiencing what appeared to be a gas pocket pain under his left clavicle. He asked the nurse to remove the pillow so he could lie back off his shoulder. I rubbed the area for him and patted, but the beeper on one of the darn machines kept going off when I did, so I had to stop. Then Charles Jr. and Maggie left to go home and to Agaway to buy chicken feed for Dad's chickens at home. 1:20 p.m. I suggested Dad lie back and try to get some sleep, and before long he was sleeping soundly. He is looking better and better. Not much, actually, coming out of that G-tube for a while. I wonder if it's clogged again, but when I asked the nurse about it, she was not concerned. Dr. Leeden was his anesthesia doctor during the operation. The other anesthesiologist, Dr. Parker, will be in the morning to check Dad. My sister Doreen is here now, 2:30. The nurse came in and wanted him to walk to the door again. He's not happy because he feels he is too weak like the last time, but she is insisting. But he got a reprieve until 4 o'clock, she said. 3:40 p.m. His temp is 103.3. The respiratory guy came in and to have Dad do the plastic tube breather gadget again. "I'd rather wait until after I walk at 4, Dad said. And the guy said, "Okay." Mom and Charles Jr. came back and the doctor came in and syringed the G-tube again. He said the stuff is getting thinner. That's good. Old food is getting out of there. After a while, I insisted Mom go home with Charles Jr. and get some rest. She gave in finally, and the rest of the day went pretty much the same. 7:40 p.m. Temperature 101.1. Dad has been trying to stay awake until he must get up and take his walk at 9, but I can see he is struggling to stay awake. I don't think he is going to make it. Sunday, February 26, 2000. Temperature 100.3. Dad said he felt like he fell over backwards in the night. He said it was a strange sensation. He also said he coughed a lot in the night. His cough seems tight to me this morning. He said it doesn't always come up. He decided to attempt his breathing spectrometer. He got it up to 3,000 and kept the ball in the smiley face for a good bit. He did it 3 times, then twice more in the next 15 minutes. That's the end of chapter 8. I'm going to go on today right into chapter 9. Chapter 9 is still in the journals, the hospital journals, Mandy's mother's journals. Dad and Henry, the man in the next bed, are both dozing peacefully after their morning wake-up check work with the nurses and a little bit of gabbing. Henry said he had both knees done, and it took about 3 months of hard exercise until he was set with his knees, walking good and feeling good. I can see Dad's leg muscles have weakened considerably because he almost didn't make it back to bed after his walk and washing up in the bathroom this morning. He made it back by the skin of his teeth, and after having to sit back down for a bit on the toilet to rest. It makes no sense to us, Dad and me, how they can expect him to do so much so fast after all he's been through, especially considering he wasn't that strong on his knees yet after his recent knee surgery, and finding cancer as the reason he couldn't eat for so many months before his knee surgery, and having the stomach surgery after his knee surgery for the cancer immediately after his knee surgery. Where is he supposed to sap this strength from? He needs to fuel up with nourishment for a bit first. That bottle of liquid food he's plugged into. And we both worry if he falls that is not going to be much fun at all. The nurse said he is starting to get bowel sounds, which means his bowels are starting to wake up. So he'll be able to have liquids soon. 6:55 a.m. Dad is trying to cough, and getting some breakup of the junk sounds good. The afternoon nurses yesterday were more concerned with getting his Johnny and sheets and things out of the way to get him up to walk than his modesty, which has got to be just about gone by now. I guess I can tell everyone how Dad has a cute butt now that I've been left to judge it. I do think the young nurse got charge out of having the men have to streak shamelessly down the hall. It's fair, I suppose, when you consider what we women must put up with when we must bear all at childbirth and our gynecological exams. Well, if anyone thought Dad couldn't handle all this, certainly underestimated his constitution. This man is the strongest man I know. No fuss, no muss. He just does what he must do without a blink or a whimper. Oh, well, you've got to do what you've got to do. It's not like he has a choice in the matter. Oh, sure. He says to everything in a he says to everything in a charming, cooperative tone, or a slight, cute, wise comment or crack. He is so darn lovable. 7:30 a.m. The little head nurse came in with the other nurses again today. We tried to get her to understand that he feels his legs are too weak to do a walk, but it seems to go over her head twice. Then we explained it to another nurse that came in after they had left the room, and finally someone got it. She said, "Oh, yes, that would be too much after knee surgery. We will wash you up at the bed for now and save your walk for just walking." They finally understood. Dad had kept saying, "I can't make it," but nobody believed him. I guess because they weren't thinking about him just having knee surgery. The doctor came in and checked him and said he can drink ginger ale 9:10 a.m. They gave him half a cup of ginger ale. He took a good sip, said it feels good in his mouth, but it tastes funny after not tasting anything for so long. 10:45 a.m. They came in to take him for a walk out of the room this time. He took a left down the hall to the end and back to the doorway of the room where he sat on a chair that was there until they made his bed. Then he walked into his room and into his bed and lay back on his bed for a second. Then they sat him up on the side of the bed to wash him up. He got sick to his stomach and they gave him something for it. 11:07 a.m. Now he is resting again. Dad's sister called a little earlier and said Aunt Ellie was on her way to see him. Whoops, I thought Dad was snoring, but it's not him, it's Henry, the guy next door. But people don't get to snore long here. Soon a nurse was in to interrupt him. 11:20 a.m. Dad's snoring a little now, but just a little. The walk tuckered him out. 11:45 a.m. While still sleeping, Dad just passed the gas in his sleep. Laugh out loud. The nurse was waiting for that next step, showing his bowels were coming more awake. He's on the road to recover. He just passed gas. A little earlier, the doctor asked Dad if he thought he could pee without the cath now. Dad said no, because he didn't want to have to keep peeing on the nurse's demand twice each nurse's shift. He said, "I've never peed that much. I can't pee that many times a day." 12 noon. This post is about Dad's next bedmate, Henry. They tried to get Henry up with his broken ankle, and he had his knees replaced 5 years ago. He couldn't make it. They were talking about sending him home today, but his bathroom at home is upstairs, and he is a big man, close to Dad's age. His wife is very sickly with asthma, so she can't lift him or help him. He said, "I don't even know how I'm going to get home. She doesn't drive." The social worker will be up to straighten things out for him, and they said, "This reminds me of how we are so lucky to have such a large family. There is always someone who can help." 12:30 p.m. Aunt Ellie and my cousin Meryl and her daughter June just came in to see Dad. It is so good to see Meryl. We were very close as children. We spent many wonderful times at Al and Ellie's house for cookouts and growing up. Al and Ellie were some of Mom and Dad's best friends. Al passed away some years ago. Helen, my cousin Donald's wife, called saying she and Donald will be here for night duty with Dad. Another doctor came to check on Dad, Dr. Young, a woman doctor who is on for the weekend. She has long dark brown hair in a braid. She seemed pleased with his progress. Dad is tired now, falling asleep again. He gets bratty when he's tired, like my husband Roger does. Mom said Ben and Tim are on the way to the hospital and she will be here herself a little later. It's always so nice to see Aunt Ellie and Merrill. Ellie was sorry she missed Mom. Merrill said she'll probably bring Aunt Ellie back up to see her soon. I hope so. Mom would like that. But it's good that Dad and Ellie got together at least. It's been a while since Dad was able to go to Lynn to Mass to visit Ellie. Well, I'll be going home for a while, so this is the end of my entry into the journal. Mandy. Still Sunday, 4 p.m. Dear Mandy, went home to give Jennifer her car so Jennifer could go to work. Mandy's been here 2 nights and 2 days straight. She's quite a girl, daughter, mother, wife, sister, and friend. We all love you, Mandy. Your love is very with everyone. Dad is sleeping now. He's really tired. 8:30 p.m. We're back, Roger and Mandy. I figure we'll visit until after Dad's 9 o'clock walk attempt, so he can have someone for moral support in case his legs don't want to support him still. We don't expect a miracle with no food yet to give him the energy he needs to sustain him. He did great. All these worries were for nothing, I guess. He seems happy to get it over with, though. He went to the hall and back and ate ice chips. He feels they're having him walk too often. He's afraid he'll fall and hurt his knees. Dad had some jello earlier. Sunday, 8 a.m. Dad had a good night. He slept well. He has his breakfast now, liquid on a tray. He is still enjoying his first meal, his first coffee in a long time, but he didn't quite finish it because I put too much sugar in it. Darn, he drank some sips of apple juice and ate some jello. Dr. Finn just checked him and he's doing fine. They're going to block off the G tube. If he feels uncomfortable when he eats, they can open it up again to drain the food from his stomach if he needs, they said. They are also going to remove the catheter so he can begin to pee on his own today. The doctor said they do not like to keep it in too long because it can cause infection. They'll be taking out the epidural tomorrow, and the doctor seems to think he will be able to go home about Tuesday or Wednesday. The doctor asked him if he would like to start solid food yet. Dad said no, not yet. He's just barely starting the liquid diet and he doesn't want to push it. 9:10. Dad used his breathing meter several times and got it up to the 4,000 mark. It made Roger very jealous. He can't get it up like that even now. Dad's looking forward to seeing him today. My sister Doreen's son. She is supposed to be bringing him. 11:15. Dad was up on side, shaving and got a little sweaty and weak. He had to lay back down before he was done. He used a double head razor, not electric. He said it was invented for the guys in Alaska so they wouldn't have to use water and have it freeze. Dad is extremely nauseous. I called the nurse and she pulled the plug to the stomach drain. It got instant relief when it drained. He said it felt like a good burp. So they canceled the nausea medication because he seems better. A bit later, they disconnected his G tube and P tube. The doctor must have changed his mind about doing it tomorrow. This journal entry was made by Mandy. Well, they finally brought him some food. He ate a quarter of a grilled cheese sandwich and drank a full glass of cranberry juice. 4 or 5 spoonfuls of chicken noodle soup and a half a dish of applesauce. Farted and put his bed down and fell asleep. He was due to walk again in 45 minutes. Oh, he doesn't relish that, but at least he got a choice of the time after waiting for it all afternoon. He chose 6 p.m., and the nurse never even told him. I went and talked to her about him not wanting to start eating till the 4 p.m. walk was over. It was 5. His tray had arrived, and he was going to wait to eat it till after the walk. I squealed, though, told him on him. This journal entry was by Bunny, eldest daughter. 6:15. They washed him up after his walk and hooked him up to his G-tube for a while to help his full tummy. They said they'd be back in an hour to take it off again, so now he's just resting until they do. He's very gassy and coughed well, too. 8:10 p.m. Blood pressure was 128/63, and his temperature was 99.8. He feels better and less gassy now. They said he's been 12 hours since they took out the pee cast, so he should try to pee soon. When he coughs and clears his throat, lungs, and spits into spit pan, the spit is phlegmy and yellow and thick and chunky. They said if it's is not green, we don't have to be concerned. Monday, February 28th, 7:40 a.m. Dad looks wonderful. He had a good night. They said they wouldn't disturb him, but they did. So he told them, "You said you weren't going to bother me." The nurse said, "You can get much sleep you can't get much sleep in a hospital." But after that, they did on let up on him, and the rest of the night was better. 8 a.m. At breakfast, Dad ate half the scrambled eggs they brought him and a little oatmeal with whole milk, coffee, jello, and he drank all the milk. He had only one pain pill yesterday. He'll be getting one after breakfast so he can be more comfortable to move around today. Mom came in, she's starting to catch a cold, so Dad sent her back home to rest. At 8:14, Doctor checked on him. He cleared his throat and lung and spit a chunk into the spit dish. There was a small spot of blood. She said she will keep a watch on it, but it's common, she said, and his lungs sound good. They will be taking off his leg pumps today and PCAth again, so then he can dangle his legs at the side of the bed when he wishes. They had put the PCAth back in because he did not pee last night. Pop enjoyed his breakfast. Mom left at 9:15 and Bunny came to see Dad. Bunny came early to take me for breakfast, she said. 11 a.m. Dad's all unhooked from his chains at last. Nothing hooked up anymore. They sat him in a chair. 11:40 a.m. Dad went walking with a walker, which was much better, he said. Then he sat in the chair by his bed for a while. 12:25 p.m. He just finished washing up and his lunch came, so he is still sitting on the chair beside the bed. He ate most of his soup and crackers and sherbet and juice. 2:20 p.m. Dad is still up in the chair, and he went for another walk. Mom's back. It is her shift. I'm going away with Mandy to Laconia till Wednesday. Dad tried putting his hand in warm water to pee, but I guess you have to be asleep for that to work. February 29th, Dad came home today. He is resting comfortably. The visiting nurses comes tomorrow. Mom cleaned up the house nice. No more smoke in the house. March 16th, 2000, 7 p.m., Tuesday evening. Mom received a call from doctor who apologized for not catching the cancer with all Dad's complaints about not being able to eat before the knee surgery. Dad had complained, saying he thought he had some sort of blockage or something, and he hadn't been able to eat well because of it for several months before the scheduled surgery on his knees. They should have listened to him and investigated further to see why he was having so much trouble eating. But all they seemed to have on their minds was performing this surgery on Dad's knees. Had they listened to Dad, maybe they could have caught his cancer months ago and on time. Now it's too late to save him, and we will never know what could have been done. That is not right or fair. Friday, March 17th, 2000, St. Patrick's Day. It is a snowy morning. Pop got up this morning and started to make corn chowder. No meat on Friday. He still obeys the old Catholic rules, so no corned beef and cabbage on this day. But then Dad became too weak to stand, so Mom and my sister Helen had to take over. Dad seems a little frustrated at still not being so weak. The visiting nurse came today, but she did not come. Visiting nurse came today, but she did not call. Saturday, March 18th, 2000. Dad is feeling lousy, throwing up, and he went back to bed to rest. Mom gave him a med for nausea. Excuse my spelling. Later, Dad had a root beer float and sat in the kitchen chair for a bit so Mom could give him a haircut. At 3:30, my sister Cheryl came with her son Donnie in his Marine uniform. He was very handsome. My brother Gilly took a short home movie of Don and Pop, and they talked about Army talk. March is on. That's the end of chapter 9. I will be taking up chapter 10, which moves us beyond the little journal of the parents to Mandy's own chapters that continue her life's breath. So I'll see you soon, talk to you soon. Have a good day, everybody.